All right, let's dive right in. What if I told you that the secret to real freedom, true liberation, was hidden in the link between two things we think are total opposites: passionate love and, well, death? Today, we're going to unpack an ancient riddle that promises to connect those exact two dots. Okay, so here it is. This ancient sutra says a truly great person is someone who stays completely calm and undisturbed, whether they're looking at a loving woman or imminent death. Wow. Just think about that for a second. It's putting the all-consuming fire of love and the ice-cold finality of death on the exact same level. How on earth is that possible? Right? That's the big question, isn't it? You've got this beautiful, loving partner on one hand, everything that makes life feel vibrant and worth living. And on the other, you've got death's door, the absolute end of everything. How could these two things possibly be the same ultimate test for inner freedom? It sounds kind of crazy, but let's dig in and see if we can connect the dots. The whole answer starts with these two, well, let's call them invisible chains. And believe me, they're wrapped around pretty much every single one of us, right from the moment we're born. They're these super deep, primal forces that are kind of running the show in the background of our lives, whether we know it or not. So, chain number one is our attachment to life itself. That deep, gut-level instinct to just keep living, no matter what. And chain number two, that's our fear of death, the terror of it all just ending. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. You can't have one without the other. They are literally two sides of the very same coin. The more you desperately cling to life, the more you're absolutely terrified of it ending. Makes sense when you think about it, right? Think about this for a second. The source material gives this incredible example of someone in immense pain, maybe a beggar with nothing to their name, and yet they still cling to life with every fiber of their being. Why is that? It doesn't seem logical, does it? But it just goes to show you how deep and honestly how blind this attachment to just living really is for all of us. Okay, so that brings us to a really interesting paradox. This one gets to the heart of why our grip on life can be so incredibly tight, even when life itself is a huge struggle. So check this out. The idea here is that your fear of death is directly tied to how much of your life you feel you haven't actually lived. It's like the more you feel you've missed out on, the joy, the purpose, the real stuff, the more you're just begging for more time. You're thinking, just a little longer. I promise I'll get to the good part soon. And this is where hope comes in. We all live on this stuff, don't we? It's that little voice in our head that says, don't worry, today might have been rough, but tomorrow is when it's all going to happen. It's this constant promise of a future payoff. And that, right there, is why death is so terrifying. It's the ultimate promise breaker. It just swoops in and snuffs out all of our potential tomorrows. Okay, section 3. Time to solve the riddle. Let's circle all the way back to the beginning, back to that loving woman and the face of death. This is where all those pieces we've been talking about, attachment, fear, hope, they're all going to click together. It's actually pretty brilliant. So, here's the big reveal. The loving woman in that riddle, she's not an actual person. She's a symbol, a really powerful one, in fact. She represents the life force itself. That raw, primal, creative energy, that fundamental sexual desire that kicks off all of life. It's the absolute engine of existence. And this just lays it out so perfectly. Look at this circle. It all starts with that life energy, right? That desire. That's step 1. That leads to birth. Step 2. The energy becomes a physical thing. Then, of course, comes life, our whole journey. Then, naturally, that initial energy starts to fade, which brings us to death, which is just a return to where it all started. It's a complete cycle. So get this. If you're not shaken by the thing that starts life, that powerful desire, then you won't be shaken by the thing that ends it either. They're just 2 points on the exact same circle. All right, so if we're all caught in this big loop of desire and fear, this attachment to life and this terror of death, how in the world do we get out? Is there an escape hatch? How do we find that real freedom the sutra is talking about? Well, the answer, according to this wisdom, is to become the witness. It's this idea of finding a silent, calm, non-judgmental part of your consciousness. Think of it as the quiet center in the middle of a hurricane. It's not some crazy new technique you have to learn. It's about tapping into a part of you that's already there. The part that can just watch. So let's say a huge wave of desire just hits you. Boom. Our instinct is to either jump in and get totally swept away by it or to try and build a wall to stop it. The witness does neither. The witness just sits on the beach and watches the wave come in and then watches it go back out. No drama, no judgment, it just watches. And it is the exact same thing with fear. When that cold wave of panic or anxiety starts to rise up in your chest, the witness doesn't freak out. It doesn't run. It doesn't get sucked into all the what-ifs. It just sits there, calmly observing the feeling of fear without becoming the fear. And by doing this, by just watching, without getting involved, something amazing happens. You create a little bit of space, a gap. And in that gap, you realize something huge. Wait a minute. I'm not my desire. I'm not my fear. I am the one watching all of this stuff go by. And that realization, that right there, is liberation. So, let's get practical. What does this state of freedom actually feel like? Day to day, when you're living as this unshakable witness, what actually changes? Well, it's a state of profound peace. You can truly enjoy the good things in life without desperately clinging to them. And you can also be okay with the absence of things. You're not constantly being yanked around by pleasure and pain or by winning and losing. You're just steady. You're calm. You're finally free from that nagging voice in your head that's always demanding something more or something different. The source text leaves us with this beautiful, powerful metaphor. Think of a boat. A boat is made to sail, right? To explore the vast ocean. But if you keep it tied to the shore, it doesn't just sit there peacefully. No, it gets knocked around and battered by every little wave. It just sits there and trembles, trapped. That's us when we're tied to the shore by our fears and attachments. And so that leaves us with one final, really important question, a question for you to take with you to think about. What shore are you tied to? What's the thing? The fear, the desire, the hope for some perfect tomorrow that's keeping your boat tied up, just trembling in the waves instead of sailing free.